Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, I had a voice radio. So today, we're going to be looking at a rather exciting new Alolan Raticate card. Now, this is actually going to be a promo card, which is being given out at gym battles in Japan, just like Beware GX was, just like Lycanroc GX was, and that means, ladies and gentlemen, that it is going to be a promo card. When it comes out over in the UK, US, Europe, etc. It's going to be released in those boxes just like Beware and Lycanroc were. I can't guarantee that, but that's how all of these gym promo GXs have been released in the past. I would be very surprised if anything different happened here. And as you can already see from the artwork, this is a very unusual, unique Sun&Moon card, because it is the first Sun&Moon card which has 2 zero energy attacks. It's got a zero energy GX attack, we've seen that before on Alolan Muck, but we've never seen a Sun&Moon card yet that has 2 zero energy attacks. Is it any good? The answer is, it just might be. So 200 HP is on the slightly lower end of Stage 1 GXs, along with stuff like Espeon. Outside of a few exceptions like Gyarados, they generally tend to have 200 or 210, so I'm cool with this. It has a resistance to Psychic, which in a format pretty much dominated by Garbodor is a great thing. And a weakness to Fighting is a pain because, firstly, we've got things like Silvally with a fighting memory, we've got things like Gallade, but far more importantly nowadays, we've got Buzzwole. And Buzzwole does 30 damage for a single energy, as soon as it can be attacking, so your first turn if you're going second, which is a little bit of an issue, because Alolan Rattata has 40 HP and a weakness to fighting. It is not going to last very long at all against a Buzzwole. And a retreat cost of 3 is annoying because it's high, but good because you can just use your heavy ball. So ladies and gentlemen, we've got some free attacks. What do they actually do? The first attack here is probably the real highlight of the card, the thing that makes me really excited. Throw away. Discard up to 2 cards from your hand. This attack does 40 damage times the amount of cards you discarded. So you could discard 1 card and do 40 damage, but the vast majority of the time you're going to be discarding 2 cards and you're going to be doing 80 damage. With a choice band on there, that's 110 damage. 110 damage for 0 energy on a Stage 1 Pokemon. That is ludicrously good. 110 damage for 0 energy is pretty much what we were trying to do with Gyarados back in the Stormfront days. Now I know the format has moved on a little bit since then, but even so, that is brilliant. One big downside here is that being a darkness type Pokemon, you're not really hitting anything for weakness. About the only thing you might be is something like Lunala, and Lunala has 250 HP, or the new GX has 230 HP, both of which have more than 220, which is what you'll be hitting here with a choice band and with weakness. But doing 110 for 0 energy is really good. 0 energy attacks are good. We talked about this with Rotom in the video we did yesterday. And being able to do 110 for 0 energy is very nice indeed. Now, of course, I've got to mention here that if you discard 2 item cards from your hand, and if you keep doing that, then of course Garbodor is going to have an absolute field day. Slightly annoying, ladies and gentlemen, but very little we can be doing about it. But there's other things you can do. This is a 0 energy Pokemon. You don't need to play a particular type of energy here. So maybe you play this with a water deck, something like Alolan Ninetales, and you discard water energy to use Aqua Patch. Maybe you play it with something like Rotom from yesterday that has 0 energy attacks as long as you got 9 tools in the discard, and you discard tools to get it going, although that does lead to the Garbodor problem. Maybe you do play a Darkness deck, maybe you discard Darkrai GX and Darkness Energy so that you can use the Restoration ability, getting from the discard with an energy attached. The point is, ladies and gentlemen, that there are a whole bunch of options here. Want a really off-the-wall option that I don't think anyone but me is ever going to try and get working? How about you discard Incineroar GX from your hand using this attack, and then you use Ho-Oh GX's Eternal Flame to put them onto your bench straight from the discard pile without having to do the whole evolving up thing. Ladies and gentlemen, there are so many options with this. Yes, doing 110 for 0 energy is great, but just as importantly here is the fact that you can discard. Let's face it, Battle Compressor was one of the greatest cards from our previous format because you could discard cards from your deck. Now I know Alolan Raticate is discarding from your hand, not from your deck, but the reality is we've got so many decks that just want to discard energy. You could discard energy and recover them with an Alolan Marowak, or you could discard energy and get them back with a Solgaleo or Lunala Prism Star, which for 1 energy attaches an energy from your discard for every Pokemon your opponent has in play. There are a whole bunch of mechanics in this game that we want cards in a discard, and this does 110 damage while getting them in the discard. The second attack, for a Darkness and a double colourless, does 150 damage. Now 150 damage is great, and generally when you get to do this level of damage it's really awkward. Think back to Alolan Ninetales GX. Gets to do 160 for a water colourless and you've got to discard 2 energy. Little bit awkward. This one is Darkness double colourless, which means you can use double colourless energy, which means 2 energy attachments, 150, and a choice band 180, you're KOing stuff like Drampa. Surely there's got to be a downside. Well, there is. Flip a coin if Tails this attack does nothing. That is not good, ladies and gentlemen. That is not good at all. We do not like this. This is a bad thing. Now you can use Victini from Guardians Rising, which allows you to reflip these coins for attacks. If they don't come up the way you want them, that would give you a 75% chance of doing 150. A lot of the time, that will give you a 75% chance of getting a one-hit KO for 2 prizes. But it's still incredibly awkward, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not a huge fan of this, because if you flip Tails, you've wasted your attack, and you've left a 2-prize Pokemon in the active. Now we've got another free GX attack here, like I previously mentioned with Alolan Muck. Search your deck for 6 item cards, show them to your opponent, and put them into your hand. And I don't know how much I love this. Alolan Muck's GX attack for 0 energy is really nice, because you can drag a Pokemon in the active and they're paralysed and poisoned and burned and you're doing some damage, you're disrupting them. This is very much like Drampa and Metagross's GX attack. If your opponent plays an N after you use it, that is incredibly bad, because you've wasted your GX attack. But if your opponent doesn't play an N after you use it, you are getting a huge advantage in terms of what you've got in your hand and being able to set up the following turn. Now, of course, these are 6 item cards. If you play them all, Garboda's going to come after you, but this could really help you to set up in a whole bunch of games. If you're playing a Stage 2, search for that rare candy. If you're playing a water deck, search for those Aqua Patch after you discard them with the first attack. Search for your choice band for next turn. Search for some Pokemon search for next turn. There are so many options here. I don't love this GX attack, because your opponent can just play an N, and because it's only items, it's not any 5 cards like Metagross, but it's for no energy on a Stage 1, and in the context of that, it's brilliant. And of course, I would be remiss right now if I did not mention the fact that we've actually got other Alolan Raticate. We've actually now got 2 Alolan Raticates and an Alolan Raticate GX, whereas Alolan Marowak is still just rolling along with 1 regular card. Now, the one from Sun and Moon I'm really not a fan of, but I am a fan of the one from Burning Shadows. 0 energy, 60 damage if you've got a tool attached to you. Remember that Alolan Raticate and Alolan Raticate GX have different names, so you can play 4 of each in theory in your deck, but please also remember that they both evolve from Alolan Rattata, which means you cannot play more than 4 Alolan Rattata in your deck. But between cards like Super Rod, Rescue Stretcher, Brock's Grit, etc., you should be able to recover them. This gives you 2 viable attacking Pokemon for 0 energy, and that means you can play literally anything you want along with them. If you're worried about fire decks, play something like Alolan Ninetales, which has got the nice ability that blocks attacks from EXs and GXs. There's just so many options here, and the fact that you're playing 0 energy means you got more room in your deck for stuff like Crushing Hammer and Enhanced Hammer if you want to disrupt your opponent, like Delinquent and Parallel City. Oh yeah, and as long as they're item cards, you can search them out with your GX attack. I really like Alolan Raticate GX, but the main reason I like it is because it's got 2 0 energy attacks, giving you a phenomenal amount of choice in what you get to play with it. 110 for 0 energy, searching for 6 items for 0 energy, and a whole bunch of space in your deck to use for whatever else you want. I am going to give Alolan Raticate 4 Wossies. However, remember, this is in the context of a 0 energy attacker that gives you more room in your deck to play everything else. The attacks are good, but the attacks combined with not having a search for energy, combined with having extra space in your deck for whatever extra tricks you want, combined with you can play it in literally any deck because you don't need a particular kind of Pokemon, that is why it goes up to 4 Wossies. But as always, we have a comment section. Tell me what you think about it. Give me your thoughts about Alolan Raticate. Go nuts! Be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at The Wossie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, etc., you can do so at patreon.com/PTCGRadio. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.